It's now 7 o'clock.
Assalamu alaikum and welcome to the weekly parenting show today, live on Inspire 105.1 FM. Joining me in today's show are Sister Shabina and Sister Fazilat as well, inshallah. Feel free to contribute in today's show on 0779 481822 as the show is live. Assalamu alaikum to both of you, Shabina and Fazilat.
Walaikum salam. How are you?
Finally,
we can hear you.
Yes, I couldn't hear anything for a moment there. I thought it was just me. I was getting a bit panicked there. But alhamdulillah, then I thought I'll speak to myself, I'll see what happens, and if I get a response, I will take it from there. So you can hear me, guys, yeah?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah. Alhamdulillah. How are you, Fazilat? You okay?
Yeah, I'm okay. Yourself?
Alhamdulillah. It's been a busy day. It's been a hectic day. Yeah. We didn't know if it was going to be the first night of Ramadan or not. It appears that it isn't. So inshallah, we definitely should be welcoming Ramadan tomorrow. Inshallah, Allah allows to meet tomorrow and to meet the beginning of Ramadan. And that kind of sets the scene for today's show, which is a kind of a pre-Ramadan show, which is all about actions are but by intentions. It's a saying of Umar radiallahu anhu. There was a hadith, which is Bukhari and Muslim, reported by Umar radiallahu anhu, that Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, actions are according to intentions and everyone will get what was intended. The hadith carries on. This was a hadith that Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said. It was something he sallallahu alaihi wasallam said just before the migration from Makkah to Medina, when Islam was established in Medina, and Islam took another course and another wave and another turn, and a magnificent understanding of Islam as a way of life began. And on the very first accord, the words were, actions are according to intentions and everyone will get what was intended. And so Muhammad carried on to say that if you migrate with the intention for Allah and His Messenger, the migration will be for the sake of Allah. And if you migrate for anything other than that in your heart, in your intentions, then you're going to basically achieve or get what you intended. Intentions play a big part in our lives. And I suppose as we're entering into Ramadan, literally, it's very important for us to rectify, purify, perfect, bring into tune or action our intentions and bring them in line, inshallah, with our deeds and actions of hopefully fasting, not eating, not drinking, are the most visible aspects of it. But the actual connection is a lot deeper. On the very first instance, if I just ask you to, in regards to today's show, when I put the topic out there, what went through you? What were you thinking? Had you already thought about this? Had you had these discussions or conversations at home? Do you think, oh my God, we need to do this? Is it something you do every single year? Is it something that you have to remind yourself? I know I have to remind myself and say, right, okay, Ramadan's coming. Need to sort out my intentions. Why am I fasting? What am I going to be doing? Why am I meeting Ramadan? What is Ramadan about? Do similar thoughts go through your mind? What were your thoughts?
Definitely. I think I usually do have a chat with my children. I haven't done it yet. It's been quite late. But it's just been a really busy a couple of weeks. But yeah, just like what you said, that Ramadan is coming to see why do we fast? What do we want to achieve out of it? And this links in nicely with that do we fast just because everyone else is fasting, and
Yeah.
we go with Rabian because the rest of the family are going, or are we doing it sincerely for the sake of Allah, or are there other intentions behind it? So it is good and it's a reminder, like you said, for ourselves as well. We have to question our own intentions and help our children to account themselves and question why are they doing a certain thing and so forth. So it's definitely relevant.
Yeah. You just mentioned Tarawih there. Sorry, Shabina. It's just something I was discussing with my boys the other night, that nowadays the culture for Tarawih, for example, you go to Tarawih, you pray your Tarawih, and then you go to the dessert bars, the dessert shops. So crucial to question your intention. What's the attraction? And in some Tarawihs, you have a break after 10 rakahs. Those that have 20 rakahs for Tarawih, and out comes the pink tea or a snack or something that's passed around. And there are some, masjids or facilities that provide Tarawih that have this facility. Once again, what is the attraction to go to that particular Tarawih or to even attend Tarawih? So important, and it's so overlooked. And at times it might look like we're doing it for the right reason. And I'm sure all of these little perks that we put into place. I remember when my boys were younger, it was an encouragement factor for younger children. Oh, come on, we'll go do Tarawih, do a full Tarawih, we'll get you a dessert at the end. We have these as encouragement factors, but at what point do we have to start correcting the intentions and not making it about the little perk or the little reward at the end, and connecting it back in that manner? So much more to talk about, inshallah. But sorry, Shabina. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, for so long, obviously, if we've been Muslim for a long time, and we fast during the month of Ramadan, we can almost forget why we fast, and we forget that this is an obligation on us. Obviously, we know it's fast, but we forget that we do it for the sake of Allah, and we can so easily fall into the trap of, oh, Ramadan is coming, I'm going to lose some weight this month, and blur our intentions. That it's not purely for the sake of Allah, but rather is to, enjoy the perks of losing a little bit of weight. So it's really important to obviously clarify why.
Sometimes it's not even that, should be something. Sometimes we do things robotically. Like it might not be for another intention. It might just be that it's something we do without any thought to it. Like, sometimes you can pray and not think. Not question why you're praying. It's just like it becomes routine, like robotic. And I think it is important to stop and think, why am I doing a certain action? Because then it motivates you, kind of puts the life in that action, isn't it? Otherwise, it is robotic. There's nothing behind it. There's no, there's no objective behind it, that action. So I think, it's
definitely important to renew our intentions. Renew our intentions, not just robotically just say it.
When
we're like
2 points
before Suhoor, we make that intention and it can be quite robotic, but really putting that deep thought into, okay, I'm fasting for the sake of Allah, may Allah accept it from me. Really putting that thought into it, I think it's really important.
I agree. A few points you've raised there, Shabina. The very first one about why are we fasting, because it can just be a habit. And like Fazila was saying, we pray, we may cover, we just do it. And when we began, we had the good intention at mind, because we may have found it difficult, challenging, and then it just becomes easy. And even if you look to Ramadan now, it's getting easier and easier. It'll be interesting this Ramadan, because we've got the changing of the clocks happening after the first couple of fasts, and I think after a couple of days, when the clock changes and the fast extends by a couple of hours, there might be a little bit of a bit of a shock to the body or the system. But nevertheless, we can, like you're saying, Fazila, just fall into this routine of, it's Ramadan, I'm going to fast, I'm not going to eat and drink and then have a big feast at the end or do whatever we're doing. Change our timetable, but have the perks in there to drive us through the month of Ramadan. And like you're saying, Shabina, focusing on the topic of Ramadan for now, I think this whole concept of weight loss is massive and it's dangerous. You may have lads that like to work out because, the whole intermittent fasting, and then if at the end you do a workout, you can grow your muscles, you can get your six pack, pick those weights, do whatever. So regardless of whether you've got that attitude, people going out for a jog just before iftar time, because look, I'm fasting, and there's the whole trend of intermittent fasting now, and what it can do to your body and how it can boost certain things within your body, or even within young girls and ladies and women, about the fact that I need to lose weight. And the fact that now the big craze of intermittent fasting on social media everywhere, it can really, really, really blur the intention. And really, what comes to my mind is the concept of accepted Ramadan. When the Sahaba would beg Allah for them to allow to meet Ramadan and for it to be an accepted Ramadan. So it's not just a case of not eating or drinking. There's a whole big piece in the middle, the do's and the don'ts of Ramadan, and that will then entail whether it's been accepted or not. And that's very deep, and that's very conclusive and final and quite scary. So this whole issue of intermittent fasting, it's a topic within itself in relation to Ramadan. How do we discuss Ramadan with our children? How do we discuss Ramadan? When I say children, your child could be 25 or 31. It's a conversation that you have as a family. And how do we discuss Ramadan now with non-Muslims, our colleagues at work, friends at school, colleges, universities? How do we discuss this? Because in the past, we may have been shy about it because it was frowned upon. You're damaging your body, you're hurting your body, you're cruel to your body. Oh no, that's so bad, that's so wrong, that's so cruel. Now it's a trend. So we could have confidence in discussing this concept, but the actual confidence hasn't come from Islam. So when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala himself was saying fasting is good for you, I prescribed it to you, it's like a prescription from a doctor. But we were swayed maybe by, oh my God, I'm not very confident in discussing this, because those, logical arguments are getting the better of me. But now those logical arguments are there, the confidence may have grown. But there's one thing using those pointers as discussion. There's another point thinking, you know what, Ya Allah, Ya Rabbi, I never wavered in my intention. I'm quite sound with my intention. It's a very personal thing, intention. It's not something that anybody can judge anybody on, even in relation to their conversations, discussions. And no, I'm not saying these conversations or discussions are right or wrong. But what I am saying is that each and every one of us know our intention. And we have to be very careful how we discuss with our families, young or old children, this aspect of intention and arguments and pointers for discussion and examples that they can use and how they use them. There's a fine line, and that confidence needs to be questioned, where it's coming from and how it's coming from, in terms of how society is recognizing this act in that manner.
And I think
what are you thinking?
No, I was going to say that even in discussions, I mean, you're right. It's a very personal thing, and nobody can know what's going on inside your head, as it were, or your heart. So outwardly, you might say that I'm doing it for the sake of Allah, for example, or it appears to be like that, but maybe you're not. And I came across a hadith today, and then it kind of links into that, and where someone said that that there's three men, and the first of the men who will be judged on the day of resurrection will be a man who died as a martyr, and he shall be brought forth, and Allah will make him recount his blessings which he had bestowed upon him, and he will recount them and admit them. Then Allah will say, what did you do with these blessings? Then he will say, I fought for your cause until I died as a martyr. And Allah will say, you have lied, you fought that you might be called a brave warrior, and you were called so. And then orders will be passed against him, and he will be dragged on his face and cast into hell. And it goes on about a man that will be brought forth who acquired knowledge and imparted it to others and recited the Quran, and Allah will make him recount his blessings, and again he will recount them and admit them. Then Allah will say, what did you do with those blessings? He will respond, I acquired knowledge and disseminated it and recited the Quran seeking your pleasure. Allah will say, you've lied, you acquired knowledge so that you might be called a scholar, then you recited the Quran so that it may be said he is a Qari, and it was said. Then orders will be passed against him, and he shall be dragged on his face and cast into the fire. So it just shows that outwardly we may come across as that, but only Allah will know what's inside, why we're doing a certain action. So we can't judge others. We can't say, oh, you're not doing it for the sake of Allah. It may appear that way, but it might be the case that they are, and vice versa. It may be something that who does appear to be doing it for the right reasons may not be. So it is very personal, and it's something that we have to account ourselves for it and know whether we're doing it for the right reasons or not.
Yeah. What are your thoughts, Shabina?
I was just thinking, no, I agree. I think it is quite sensitive to even just say, "Oh, what is your intentions?" or "Is your intentions clear?" But I mean, it is something personal. It is something that you have to question yourself and make clear. Think deep into your heart. You know, are you doing it for the sake of Allah? And that's something for everyone individually to account and ask themselves. What is their intention? Why are we giving iftaris out? Or why are we why are we doing the actions that we do?
And I think
Is
it's
it for
important to
Allah?
it's not, I mean, I know we're talking about it now and Ramadan's coming up, but this is every day. So whatever actions we do, it applies to everything all the time. So whether it's, I know Mother's Day was over the weekend, and there was talk about that and how, what is it that we just celebrate Mother's Day on one day, and do we, what are our intentions? How do we treat our mothers and so forth? So I think it's just looking at all our actions and why we do them. Is it just for commercial reasons, for example? I know that's just one example, or is it for the sake of Allah?
You're right, and even your hadith that you just shared with us there, Fazila, it's really hard hitting, because, like you said, it applies to everything and every kind of category. This might be the time to start questioning our intentions and digging deep into our heart and the condition of our heart in relation to how much we like what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has ordained upon us, and how much of it we may do begrudgingly because we have no choice. We're locked in because we believe in Allah. We know it's a fard. We understand the meaning of fard, so we feel we have to do it. So the condition of the heart is so important, and bringing that in line. And that hadith really elaborates on that. The qari and the hafiz and all these different categories of people that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will be dragging them to Jahannam, and they'll be confused about why they are being dragged, why Allah has given this order. And it will be all to do with intentions, because the actions fit the bill, but the intention behind the action was corrupted.
Going back to that hadith, I missed the ending out. So there was the third man who will also be bought, and it ties in with Ramadan and how we give in Ramadan. So so then a third man will be brought out, and Allah will ask, again, abundantly, but who Allah made abundantly rich and granted every kind of wealth to, and he'll be brought, and Allah will make him recount his blessings, and he will recount them and admit to them, and then Allah will ask him, what have you done with these blessings? And he will say, I spent money in every cause in which you wished that it should be spent. And Allah will say to him, you're lying. You did it so that you could be said about you, he's generous and giving, and it was said. And then again, Allah will pass his orders, and he'll be dragged into on his face and thrown into hell. So I think even especially in this month, we give, and there's a lot of people who broadcast what they give, and we know of how if you give with the right hand, the left hand shouldn't know about it. So again, are you doing it for the show, to show off to people? Why are you doing it for the sake of Allah, and do it discreetly so nobody knows about it? So I think it ties in that a lot of our actions will be judged, like you said, all of our actions will be judged by our intentions. But it's exemplified. It's really in this month, because we're keen to strive, aren't we, to do good. And are we doing it good for people to see, or for Allah to see? Or is it because we don't want to feel left out in the community, thinking, well, if I don't do this, they'll think, well, he or she isn't a good Muslim, for example, or they're not spending as much, or they're not giving sadaqah, or they're not doing as many iftaris like you're saying, Shabina, or so it does. We have to evaluate what our thoughts are.
Based on that, just sticking to this point about Ramadan, because we will move on to, because you've touched on it, Fazila, you've touched on the fact that the intention aspect is general, and we'll spend the rest of this half of the show just focusing on the Ramadan aspect and the intention, and hopefully we'll do this backwards. Usually we always break down the concept first and then carry on from there. But with it being Ramadan and the focus, we began it with Ramadan. We'll conclude that in this half of the show. But just focusing on that and enhancing on, say, aspects of even the hadith that you mentioned there, there's quite a lot if we look to Ramadan for this year. I'm sure it was the same last year as well. Yes, it probably most definitely has been for the last few Ramadans, where exam season is literally during Ramadan. And that can itself be a reason for why people intend to fast or not intend to fast. And this is something else that it ties in with the intentions. Just another example, really, to elaborate on. It could be the convenience that, oh, look, we have an exam timetable, and we won't be distracted by food, snacking, going to the kitchen every other minute, and we can get our head down. And you'll get other parents or youth family members that will think, no, the attention span isn't there. I won't be able to absorb my studies very well, and therefore I'm not going to fast, or I won't fast every single day of Ramadan. And that in itself, there's a few pointers that come into that. Number one, really understanding the purpose of Ramadan, really understanding why we are fasting. And it goes back to that logic again, that do we apply the logic of whether it's good for us or bad for us and our concentration or not? And secondly, after we've dealt with that aspect of it being fard, then coming to the concept of the fact that it's convenient. Yeah, I can get my head down, I can focus, I can just spend those hours studying. Maybe another aspect of it being that we've got a couple of weeks of possibly the Easter holidays coming into the middle of it. And isn't that exciting for those people that are teachers or those parents that have kids at school? Because you've got over 2 weeks, alhamdulillah, of that time where you're not going to be doing these school runs. The concept of convenience once again creeps in. Once again, nothing wrong with it as a reality, as long as the intentions aren't corrupt. And that's a strong word to use, but it's to that degree in Islam that we question the condition of the heart. And we really, really want our Ramadan to be an accepted Ramadan, and not just for it to be a period of where we're not eating and drinking. And we want it to be actually something that Allah accepts from us. When you give somebody a gift, if they say, nah, sorry, didn't need that, don't like that, I have loads of that, and just return it to you, it hurts your heart. So when it comes to Ramadan, we don't know if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has accepted it from us. And we need to try really hard to try and personalize this to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to the best of our ability. And that's why intentions in all actions, as you're saying, Fazilat, and specifically in relation to the blessed month of forgiveness, when the shaitan's locked up, we really need to be concerned and worried about our own intentions and are they in line with Islam. So when it comes to this convenience of holidays or convenience of exam period, how would you discuss that with the youth? And how would you yourself, how your teacher, Shabina, you're a mother, Fazilat, who does pickups and drop-offs. How does it all tie in? Is there concern about the intention there?
I think when it comes to, obviously, with Ramadan, we need to think about, yes, it's fard for us to fast, but also we need to make our intention to become closer to Allah. And there's a reason why our actions are, the sunnah things that we do, there's so much more reward in it. There's a reason for that. In this month, there's a reason for why our sunnah actions are, multiplied. You get so much more reward for it. And the reason being is so that we become closer to Allah. So we need to put our focus onto why do we make our intention to become closer to Allah? For the sake of Allah, isn't it? So we need to think, okay, is it convenient for us? Is it not? What are we doing to become closer to Allah? Because at the end, that's one of the purposes of Ramadan, to build our relationship. And how are we doing that? Just because we've got holidays and it's a little bit easier for us, or we can focus more on our exams, are we actually focusing on becoming closer to Allah? Are we utilizing this time correctly? Yeah, I think that's something that we need to have these some sort of conversations with. And even when it comes to, say, for example, the holidays in Ramadan, are we letting our children sleep for the whole day so that it's easier for them, or are they going to utilize that time to read Quran, to do actions that are rewarding? I think those conversations need to take place. What are we doing with our time?
Yeah, and even the studying, if you have got exams coming up and you are studying, it's about looking at how much time is applied to that, how much time we are giving to each aspect of our life, and the balance. And then connecting it back, that even when we look to knowledge and seeking knowledge, whether it's Islamic knowledge or whether it's academia, this is something that's a rewarding action. It's not something that's disregarded in Islam. So how do I view this idea of seeking knowledge and taking that aspect on my life? We're coming into a break, believe it or not. So we'll go into the break, we'll come back, and we'll continue with the discussion on actions that by intention. So Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi
This program will
wa barakatuh.
continue after the break. Continue listening to Inspire FM. Inspire FM.
Inspire 105.1 FM.
Assalamu alaikum guys, this is Bilal. Keep smiling and continue building those bridges, and keep listening to Inspire FM 105.1.
Mercy Universal is a global humanitarian charity. Mercy Universal help with education and women's empowerment, developing valuable skills as diverse as computing, embroidery and tailoring, whilst ensuring people have the equipment and facilities they need to work and succeed. To continue to do this, Mercy Universal need your support. Please donate today using the sort code 601328 and account 54651646. For more details, call 0333 300 0047 or visit mercyuniversal.com.
We want to tell you about the fantastic range of carefully selected quality used cars available here at Caddington Motors. But we can't actually list them, as being so good at such low prices, they're often being driven off soon after arrival. See, there goes another one. With warranties, finance and part exchange available, along with a fantastic choice of makes including light commercials. See what family-run Caddington Motors have for you. Manor Road, Caddington, LE1 4EE. Online at caddingtonmotors.com or call 01582 858 857.
Biscott Pharmacy, your one-stop health and beauty pharmacy in Luton, stockist of over 8,000 health and beauty products. At Biscott Pharmacy, we offer a range of services, including health advice and repeat prescriptions for collection and delivery to your home. We also offer a Hajj and Umrah vaccination. Come in and see us and ask about our stop smoking service. We're open 7 days a week till late, including bank holidays. Biscott Pharmacy, 157A Biscott Road, Luton. Call 457709.
Why do Tops Pizza deliver the top pizzas in Luton and Dunstable?
For a start, all the toppings are 100% halal, and Tops use fresh dough every day. Then there's the cheese, the highest quality available. And when it comes to food preparation, cleanliness is taken as part of our faith. So that just leaves the taste, choice, and great offers, including buy one, get one free on all medium, large, and extra large pizzas. Tops Pizzas, Wellington Street, LU1 5AA. Order online, topspizza.com or via Just Eat. Download our app or call 01582 72 5000.
This Ramadan, the best of you are those who feed others. Your generous donations bring joy and relief from hunger. Your kindness is a form of worship, and your contribution will bring relief after hardship. You can now donate your fidya, kafara, deliver iftar meals and food parcels to families in need for as little as £3. Donate now on www.crisisaid.org.uk or call us on 01582 211 066.
From the studios of Inspire FM, the time is now 7:30.
Assalamu alaikum and welcome back to the second half of the weekly show on parenting. On second half of the weekly parenting show live on Inspire 105.1 FM. You can tell we haven't done this live for a while. You are hosted today by myself, Sister Naveed. The topic today is actions are but by intention, and joining me for the live show today are Sister Fazilat and Sister Shabina. The listeners out there, feel free to contribute in tonight's show. Give us your tips, give us your thoughts, your views, your opinions on 07779 481822. Your comments or your questions will be passed on to me and I can share them on air tonight. We've focused a lot, Shabina and Fazilat, on the aspect of Ramadan in relation to our actions, our intentions, and the great emphasis that Muhammad ﷺ placed on this. And if we think about when Muhammad ﷺ said this, it was right at the beginning of the establishment of Islam as a way of life, as a comprehensive system, before he actually took the steps of migration to Medina. So it really shows that from now on, Islam has been elevated to a way of life. And now on, it's not just a set of spiritual belief and values that you have, and you need to really seriously start thinking about what your actions are based on. Not that the great personalities of the Sahaba and Sahabiyat weren't already doing this, but the words were there to be echoed until Yawm al-Qiyamah. So, hundreds and hundreds of years later, people like you and I, we're talking about these words of Muhammad ﷺ, and we're discussing them, and we're rectifying and correcting ourselves in that manner. A very important principle came to my attention, something that, caught my eye, the way that I recognized that even great scholars of Islam, the classical scholars, Allah be pleased with them, looked at this aspect, and it made a lot of sense to me. And it really helped me understanding this aspect of intentions and actions. And what they said was that life is divided into three aspects. And if you look to life in three aspects, you'll understand where actions and intentions fit in together. It's a bit like when Muhammad ﷺ said that there's three parts to your stomach. One is for food, one is for water, and one is for keeping empty. And divide your stomach into three parts, into three thirds. In the same way, life should be divided into three. 1/3 for thought, 1/3 for intention, and 1/3 for seeking knowledge. And all together, combining all of these aspects, these thirds together, equals your actions. So we need to make sure that we have a nice balance of thought, not just intention. You can have good intentions. You can have the intention of waking up for Fajr, but not do it. So we need to have the thought behind why we are doing what we're doing. The thought needs to be connected to the intention. Some people have really good intentions, but their reasons are that tomorrow I might need your help. Tomorrow I might be in a dire situation. And that understanding of I might be in a situation, you scratch my back, I'll scratch yours, I help you, you help me, I be there for you in your time of need, and you be there for me in my time of need. It really lets people down. It really disappoints people. It disappoints people at schools and colleges and universities because you defended your friend, but they didn't protect you when you needed them. They backstabbed you. They stood aside and watched and mocked you, or took the entertainment on behalf of how others were treating you. So this aspect of the thought being consolidated with Islam, the principles of Islam, the haram, the halal, the good, the bad, the light, the disliked, that Allah is the one that dictates to me what's right and what's wrong, and I take that on board. And then connected to that is the other third, which is your intentions behind why you are doing what you are doing. So that's really important and crucial. And tied to all of this is knowledge. So where is this coming from? So we have to be constantly in search of knowledge, especially Islamic knowledge, to consolidate these concepts within our mind. Otherwise, when we've had the really, really hot summer Ramadans, it's enough for us or anybody to think, oh my God, this is crazy. In some parts of the world, they literally had daylight for a couple of hours, and the iftars were so late. Between sahur and iftar, there was a very little window. And it can feel crazy. So the knowledge aspect, that third, that the great people of Islam have discussed is so important. And when you combine all of this and bring it together, that equals into actions. Now, how does that sound to you guys, as my representatives of the listeners out there? What are your thoughts? How does that make any sense? And what are you thinking?
I was thinking, I really like how you put it. I never actually thought of it like this, that there's three aspects to your action. Ultimately, there's three aspects to it: how you think about it, what your intention is, and where you get your knowledge from. I think, I mean, I really liked how you put it there.
It also helps in breaking it down when we're discussing it with the youth, when we're discussing it with, children that we're in care of, guardians of, or parents of. It gives you a vision, it gives you a direction and a perspective, I hope. I don't know, Fazila, what are you thinking?
No, it ties in,
Do you
isn't
think
it?
you usually apply this? Do you think that, you know what, actually, I think I was doing that because that's what I thought when I came across this. I thought, okay, I like this because you can also measure yourself and how you've been behaving, not so precisely, because like you said, Sabrina, it makes so much more sense. You think, okay, I've got a balance now. But, sometimes it's reassuring to know that, okay, I was on that note, I was on that track. Or maybe I totally wasn't, and now I can apply this to my life.
No, I agree.
Go
I
ahead,
think we.
Priscilla.
No, I agree. I think we do kind of apply to it. Maybe, obviously, now you've broken it down, it's different, but I think we do. So we do look at our intentions and where our knowledge is coming from and why we're doing it. And I think it all ties in, comes together with the action, as it were, isn't it? Manifesting. And I think going, like, say, for example, I know you mentioned before the break, you were saying about how everything falls into place with the school runs and studying and fasting and so forth. And I think this is a stressful time for the GCSE lot, the A levels, they're coming up, and for parents and children alike.
Yeah.
And it'll be quite easy for some children to say that they don't want to fast, for example, to say that it's too much for them. And some parents who their children might want to fast, but they're saying it's too much for their children and saying it's too much pressure. And but I think it's the best time. There's so much barakah in Ramadan. And why would you want to lose that? Like I've spoken to with my children and over the years, because this isn't the first year, like you said, we've had a few years when it's been exam season, and there was a few years ago when the exams were during Ramadan and they had to fast then as well. So it's, if you want the best, this is the month to get it in, as it were. And Allah doesn't burden us, so if we're fasting we can definitely study as well. And the other thing I think is, everything is holistic and balanced. It's not one extreme to the other. It's not like you're not reading. And I was saying to someone yesterday, I think you're not reading Quran 24/7 hours, for example, and neglecting your other fards, because life is still going on holistically. We, as mothers, we have to look after our children. For example, we're doing the school runs, we're cooking, we're cleaning. Fathers are out there working, or mothers are out there working, so nothing stops. The addition is the fasting bit, and our intentions and what we're seeking out this month, and we're striving to seek more reward from it. So, like, for example, if I'm doing my school run, inshallah, I like to think that I'm getting more reward now in this month, because I'm doing it for the sake of Allah. I'm fulfilling my duty as a mother that Allah has prescribed for me, to look after my children, or if I'm cooking, and so forth. So it's not that it's certain actions will get more reward and less. All of our actions are there. Yes, we do. We want to read more Quran, definitely. We want to focus on our salah. We want to do the extra nafil prayers. We want to do that, definitely. But all the other actions are still there. Our normal daily routines, as it were, that we can't kind of just stop. And I think that's the message we need to send to our children, that everything is possible, and we're not burdened. We're not fragile, that we can just stop, and think we can't cope.
Yeah. Especially when it comes to what is halal and haram.
Yes.
I was just thinking about this actually, because I was thinking my daughter comes, walks at home, and now I'm thinking about it. It's going to be a little bit hard for her walking at home and fasting, but that doesn't mean that you don't fast, because you can still fast. Yes, it's a little bit harder, and you'll be rewarded for this. But it doesn't mean to say that I will then just bend the rules for her and say it's all right. You don't need to fast.
But we can make adjustments, Shabina, though, isn't it? So if they're, for example, like your daughter's walking, and maybe if you can, let's just say you can pick her up during this month to make it easier for her to fast. So do the fard action, but facilitate that. So I think with everything, we kind of reorganize our time to make the most of this month. Like even like I don't know about you guys, but like say if I'm cleaning and the kids are like, why are you cleaning? And I'm like, so I've got less to do during this month. I don't want to get like main jobs out of the way, prep some food, it's out of the way. So it's easier for myself. So I'm not busy cooking and so forth. So the intention, inshallah, is right to say that it's to free my time up during this month to maybe read that extra Quran, to maybe to read extra, do extra actions, as it were. So I think it's just reorganizing our time and making the most of it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the key point there from the points that you guys were both making there is that everything is an act of worship in Islam. So whether it's the physical actions and activities, the routines that have to continue, the adjustments that we have to make, the physical activity as well as the spiritual connections that we intend to do. We intend to try and pray the Hajjat, or we intend to try and do the extra prayers such as Tarawih, and we intend to do extra recitation of the Quran, or listening to tafsirs, or reading tafsirs, or just enhancing in our knowledge. And the intention should be there to reflect at what state we were in physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually, and what do we now intend to achieve between this Ramadan and next Ramadan, inshallah, if you want to start using it as your yardstick for measuring yourself and improving yourself, and moving forward in that manner. And if we view everything as an act of worship in Islam, which it is, then inshallah it puts things into perspective. And you're right, then we can make the adjustments. And even if we can't make the adjustments, we have that's where the third of knowledge comes in, that it's not a test until you feel the pinch. And for some people, I remember speaking to a sister a few weeks ago, and she was saying, this is a sister in her 40s, just like myself, and she was saying, oh, Naveed, I really struggle with food, the idea of not eating. Now, myself personally, that's not my struggle. Alhamdulillah, my struggles will be something different. And I've never actually heard anybody actually say that or admit that, alhamdulillah, for her to admit it and talk about it, and to have that conversation with me. And I just took a moment there and thought, subhanAllah, everybody's test definitely is different. Everybody's feeling the pinch differently. But what we need to remember is that we're supposed to feel that pinch. So if it's our child walking home, obviously, unless they've got health issues, unless they're going to faint somewhere, obviously, alhamdulillah, Islam is very, very accommodating. And we are going to do a whole show on this in a couple of weeks' time during Ramadan, about health issues. But if that's not the case, and it's just going to exhaust you that little bit more, or you're going to, just feel it a little bit, you're supposed to feel the difference in Ramadan. That's what it's all about. And it should change everything in your life for a month. That's the way Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is celebrating the arrival of Quran, very differently to the party that we're going to throw on our birthday or our wedding, full of food and nothing much to do. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants us to feel the difference and
you're right.
Acknowledge this in this manner.
In terms of like, it can be the fast during the summer months. We've been through that, but even when you fast in the winter months, you still feel that fast.
Yeah,
you still feel. So it's not. Yeah. It's not how long we do it. Obviously, there is a difference in that, but you still feel the test of it. Definitely, different ways. Definitely. It might be if you feel cold instead of in the summer you might feel thirsty, but you still feel that physical pinch, as it were. That Allah shows that you are fasting.
Yeah, and another concept here now, moving on, building on this, is vision. And I think this is another aspect of intentions and actions that is really, really crucial. Maybe we're living in a times when we don't have much vision. And if we do have vision, it's a very tunneled vision of just earning money and maybe buying that house and buying that car and having that lifestyle and having that 6-figure salary or whatever we intend to do or achieve. Very, very tunnel vision. for our life. But here in Islam, one of the things that Islam demands is a vision for a Muslim. The Muslim has to be visionary. We have to check our intentions and check our understanding of the purpose behind the action that we've been instructed to take by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, understand it, adopt it, both for the short term and the long term. And the short term is actually the dunya, which Muhammad ﷺ said as he dipped his finger into water and lifted it out and a drop of water fell up, and he said, that's your dunya, that drop. Did you see it? Did you notice it? And this ocean is your akhirah. So there is a near vision, as we say, and a long-term vision. And that vision first, us as parents, as carers of youth, of young people, we have to know that we have that. And then we need to part that knowledge naturally with the people that we are taking care of. And like I said, parenting doesn't stop. You can have a 6-year-old child and you could still be alive listening to the show tonight at the age of 85. But the whole point is that we still have these discussions, and this concept of a deeper, more enlightened, more enhanced vision is so important of the dunya and the akhirah, and really viewing the dunya where it fits, and these little hardships and trials, and putting them into perspective in that manner. Very quiet. Nobody interjected me. What were you thinking?
It was just nice to listen to you. Alhamdulillah, it is very important to have a vision, to have to see what the end goal is. We do need to have these sort of conversations with our children. What is their end goal? Is their end goal Jannah? Is their end goal? Do they know where they are heading, or do they? How do they question their actions? So you're right. We do need to have a vision.
Giving the objective, isn't it, or the purpose of why you're doing it. I know for the sake of Allah, but showing that there's reward at the end of it. So that's your vision, is it, to inshallah get to Jannah, and that's our end goal by pleasing Allah. So I think it's, just like you said, we give, if we say if you pass your exams, we'll get you this, or if you work this much, we'll give you that reward. Same wise, if we link it back, saying that if we live our life accordingly to what Allah has prescribed, there's a bigger reward that inshallah waiting for us there. So it has to be, because sometimes like I was saying before, it can be quite robotic, and we kind of lose sight of the reward, or lose sight of what we're aiming for, and you become a bit demotivated, and there's no sort of energy or life in our actions, which is also linked back to our intention, isn't it? Why we're doing it. We have to keep reminding ourselves as to why we're doing what we're doing.
And now just coming to a controversial example, inshallah, as parents ourselves, and I think this is really important as well. Broken families, mending links between siblings, family, parents and children. And I'm talking about the parents here, the guardians here, fixing their issues with their neighbors and with their community and with Salat al-Raham, and maybe even ties of marriage, and fellow Muslims. And the whole concept of the fact that dawah in itself, or the discussions that you're going to have with the youth around you, they're very quickly going to point a finger right back at you and question you, or account you. And that's the key word I think I was looking for, accounting yourself, as Islam teaches us, before we come to account with Allah. And some of us may hesitate to talk about actions and intentions, because we know Ramadan's knocking on our door, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us the opportunity to meet it and receive it. And for it to be accepted, there's certain things that need to be rectified and sorted. And that could be family ties. It could be creating peace between your siblings, or between parents and children, and the ego that's going to get hurt here, about who's going to take that first step and who's going to make that first move, and the pride, all of these things which are hated by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that we carry. And this is an opportunity for us as well. I know it's a parenting show, but it's very easy for us to say to our kids, stop arguing, stop hating each other, Stop being rude to each other. Stop not sharing things. Be kind. Have gestures of kindness, because we love all our children and we want them to be there for each other and support each other and have each other's back. That's once again very selfish. Is it from Islam? The action that we want our kids to be good to each other. So then how is our behavior with our siblings, all those grown-up adults in our 40s, 50s, 60s, that don't talk to the sibling because you may have some rivalry going on of favoritism in the family, or you feel that you've been undermined or overlooked, or land issues, those that are connected to back home. There's so much out there that goes on. Your wife doesn't like your family, you don't like her family, and broken families. And this is the opportunity to really, really put into perspective the correcting of your ties, yourself, and being the example to those younger people around you about what Islam demands from you, because you're not going to receive anything back from these people. If not, they might just show you more arrogance. They might just snub you, or might turn around and think, well, they've got the better upper hand, that you've come crawling back to them, that you've lowered yourself. And this is where central to all of this actions are but by intention is the fact that Islamic thinking has to be at the center point of it all. The Islamic culture has to be there. The Islamic understanding, which leads to action, has to be there. And then that will link and connect to both the internal and the external states of your affairs, and your dunya and your akhirah. And it brings it all together in that manner, but it's deep. And that thinking has to be there to that level, because sometimes in parenting, it's very easy for us to focus on our kids, but neglect where we may be going wrong in our adult lives or parent lives. And we always think it's different with me because I've been hard done by, but it's going to be different for my children, and I'm going to do it differently with them. Any thoughts, any tips, any advice, any clarification on that you guys have?
No, you're right. We have to set the example. We can't say, because kids do squabble and fight, and we can't expect them to stop. And then yet we hold grudges within our families. And I think there's always something going on in every family. And like you said, this is an opportunity to do the better action and try and amend ties, as it were, and move on. And that doesn't mean you become best friends and things will be all happy clappy, as it were. Yeah.
Go back to how they were. Yeah.
Because they won't. Realistically, that doesn't really happen. But at least you're civil. At least it's halal. At least there's no sort of grudges, that you haven't cut ties. And I think that's the important thing. And we have to show that. We have to be the better person or the bigger person and make the first move. And we can't just talk about it. We have to show it, I think. Definitely.
Yeah. And just bringing it together now, inshallah. And basically, the concept is that breed the determination that leads to the actions in our life, and it's very important for us to have the correct intentions that lead to the correct actions, and that is going to manifest and be built from the Islamic attitude and the Islamic thinking and the Islamic mentality, inshallah. And just being aware, inshallah, as we move into the last few minutes of the show, the conscientiousness of it is very, very important for Ramadan in our life, to be conscientious about what we're doing or why we're doing it and how we're doing it, to place the convenience of Ramadan in its place in the way that it needs to be placed, to have the confidence for the right reasons. And I think we touched upon this with the intermittent fasting and how going to work, even for ourselves, might be easy to say, oh, well, fasting is something that everybody encourages. It's intermittent, fasting is discussed all the time, and it's really. But to have the correct confidence in the correct conversation for the correct reasons is also very, very important in that manner. And really rectifying and correcting our intentions in that manner and bringing it all together. So it's about having that deep, clean, pristine concepts about fasting and about life. And the barakah, as you were saying, Fazila, comes and it falls into place naturally once you're doing things for the right reason and for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Is there anything that any one of you two just wanted to add? We're in the last couple of minutes of the show. Shabina, any pointers in regards to the actions being by intention or?
I mean, I like what you said at the end, how we need to account ourselves. And I was thinking to myself about the, say, the families that that I need to make more effort with myself. And I'm thinking this Ramadan, I'm going to put a goal, to make more effort with families that, for the sake of Allah, with families that I may not have strained relationships with, but inshallah, for the sake of Allah. So, we're in the last 20 seconds of the show now. Jazakallah khair to both of you. Jazakallah khair to the listeners. Please forgive us for any shortcomings or mistakes. Keep us in as dua. Ramadan Mubarak from us. And there is a youth iftar this Saturday for girls only, women only at Bury Park Community Centre. Please do contact Inspire for any further details. If you wish to receive them, they can let me know and I can get back to you, inshallah, in regards to that. Aquli qawli hadha wa astaghfirullah. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum. In Luton and its surrounding areas, it is now time for Salat al-Isha.
Luton और इसके मज़ाफ़ात में नमाज़े इशा का वक्त हुआ चाहता है.
This azan has been sponsored by Ideal Properties. Contact us on 01582 721110 or log on to www.idealpropertiesltd.co.uk.
Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. أشهد أن محمد رسول الله. أشهد أن محمد رسول الله. حي على الصلاة. حي على الصلاة. حي على الفلاح. حي على الفلاح. الله أكبر، الله أكبر. لا إله إلا الله.
اللهم رب هذه الدعوة التامة والصلاة القائمة آت محمدا الوسيلة والفضيلة والدرجة الرفيعة